Hey guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic Channel. Hope you're all having a spectacular day. And today I wanted to have a bit of a look at my hometown, Perth, Western Australia. And yeah, some of the old world buildings that we find around this place. So let's jump into it. Alright, and I wanted to start with Parliament House. We actually saw this last week when we had our meetup, and we're going to be back there tomorrow for the Freedom Day gatherings. And I just thought I would read you a bit. This is pretty interesting. Parliament House in Perth, located on Harvest Terrace. Interesting name, Harvest Terrace. And it's the home of Parliament in WA. So an Australia-wide competition was held for the design of Parliament House. Adjudicated by the Government Architect of New South Wales, he did not recommend any of the entries, but gave awards of merit. Well done, guys. So there was an Australia-wide competition, and they ended up with a design that looks exactly like every other Parliament House on Earth. And after he did not recommend any of the entries, one of the awards went to 4 officers of the Public Works Department, and the decision was then referred to the Parliamentary Committee, which awarded the design to the Public Works Department, whose chief architects were John Grandeur and Hilson Beasley, who became acting chief from November 1903. So the Public Works Department got the tender to construct, to build, to take on the construction, so they tell us, of Parliament House in Perth. And as we can see, the Public Works Department was the state government agency of Western Australia, which was charged with providing and maintaining public infrastructure, such as dams, water supplies, schools and hospitals. So what they're saying is all these people put in designs, but they decided to go with the state-owned and run Public Works Department. And let's just have a bit of a look, because it says that they're into construction as well. So we'll have a bit of a look at what they've actually constructed, shall we? About the Parliament House, it just says the building of the first stage of Parliament House commenced in 1902. The walls are of local brick with tile facing from Rottnest and Donnybrook. The woodwork is Jarrah. And a large general room and members-only library were added to the initial design during construction, and it was completed in 1904. So only 2 years to build this, back in the 1900s. The population of Perth back then, we'll have a look at that, but it was pretty low. And here we are on Trove, and this is from the 30th October 1890, so a full 12 years before they started construction. Population of Western Australia. And down here we have total estimated population on September 30th, 1890. For the total state of Western Australia is 45,000 people. So pretty big parliament for 45,000 people. And this is a huge building. Looks like every other building, every other parliamentary building across the earth, and took 2 years to build. But not only that, when they started, after it was all designed, after all the site works were done, after all the materials were ordered, after everything was, after they were in construction process, they decided to add a large general room and members library as they were building it. And as you can see, they added those but we still ended up with this perfectly symmetrical shape. Isn't that interesting? The Public Works Department of Western Australia. The history of the department is difficult to accurately describe given the broad range of tasks performed by the department and also the evolutionary development of the organisation. The department was instrumental in the success of Western Australia, aiding in transforming it from a colonial settlement to a prosperous state. Given the remoteness of Western Australia, the importance of the PWD and its self-sufficient design and construction skills were probably never fully appreciated. I wonder where all these construction, highly skilled construction people were coming from in 1900 in Perth, the most isolated city on earth, or so they tell us. So construction of the infrastructure. So it was overseen by this guy. However, in 1830, the matter was raised. Oh my gosh, so it was around in 1830. Now, Perth colony was 1828. It was basically, that was the start. That was literally the start of the Perth colony. So here we go. He continued this position, completing structures like the Roundhouse, which is that's in Fremantle, our first jail. The old Perth courthouse. That looks slightly low in the ground. Using convict and military labour, so completely unskilled labour, along with contract labour. He was involved with building roads, bridges, jetties and tunnels. Okay, all with convict and military labour, along with a few contractors, because, there was contractors walking around everywhere in Perth back then. So this is the official timeline for Perth, Western Australia. And as you can see, 1830. First reports. So I guess that's saying, the first reports back of a place that they can come in and take over, found it. The first newspaper was 3 years later. So they got on quick to telling everyone the story. Then 1 year later after that, we have the Battle of Pinjarra. Then some boats turned up, 1829. So these were just before the settlement started, obviously bringing supplies and people. And so 1834, like literally just after it's happened, or just after the boats have arrived, they've gone down and we've got the Battle of Pinjarra where they've gone and killed some of the native residents. And in 1850, the convicts turned up. And that was 20 years later, remember. So this is the convicts, 1850. And what did we just see here? Okay, over here it says construction, blah, blah, blah. In 1830, the matter was raised and a salary was awarded. He continued his position to 1839, completing structures like the Roundhouse in Fremantle, the old Perth courthouse, using convict labour. But the convicts did not arrive until 1850. So what's going on there? Come on, guys. They can't even get their story right. So here's a picture of Pinjarra back in the day. I'm not sure of the date of this one. And as you can see, dirt roads and old world buildings. We've got quite a few people here. They're all lining up for something by the looks of it. And again, everyone's wearing the same clothes. We see this everywhere. And look at this. It looks like, what is this? What are they all lining up for? This does look like a train's just rocked up and, let out the new population. Here's your town, guys. You all live in Pinjarra now. And off they all come in the same clothes. All the kids all dress the same. All the adults the same hats. And old world Tartarian buildings. See these bits here on the side? We see these on cathedrals everywhere. The sort of support things that they have. The re-roofing, a lot of buildings seem to be re-roofed, and it looks like a lot of them may have originally had flat roofs and they've been changed Like this one looks like it has. This one looks like it was originally that shape, but this may have been retrofitted to this shape of roof, because they may have found a lot of these buildings without roofs. We don't know how long they were standing there, not being looked after. But I mean, look at this. It's just, complete old world building. We've got the balls up here. We've got the arches. This has been all filled in for some reason. But yeah, this is Pinjarra in Western Australia. And a few more pictures. This is a church that looks a little bit low in the ground. This is an old house. This looks exactly like the houses that they still build in Australia, by the way. This house here is obviously one of the newer houses. It's made of wood. And as you can see, and we see this everywhere, wooden houses, obviously new, they're made, this is what they can make because they can cut down trees. This is the resources they have. And these would be, wooden shingles. But we have these brick chimneys all the time. I'm just wondering, is that just, the amount of bricks they could find that were just lying around? Because we see this everywhere, red bricks just lying around. You find them everywhere. So, yeah, I'm wondering if that's why they only have the chimneys. They just went and collected enough to build their chimney to keep the heat in, and obviously wood was much easier to work with and to get. And this is the memorial of the Battle of Pinjarra, where the state government had just moved in, taken over, and basically went down and killed, I think it was, the numbers vary between 15 and 40 people, just, for living their lives. This is a picture of one of the people from Pinjarra, and I found this very interesting. This is Edenvale. This is a house. I'm pretty sure this is it here. Built 1888. 888. For Edward McClarty and family, the elegant residence remained in the family until the death of Sir Ross McClarty, 1962. So again, in the start of Australia, the people who have got these big houses and businesses, they're all sirs and they're all, tied into someone. Here we have the family again, everyone wearing the same kind of clothes. And this is Australia, where it gets over 40 degrees in the summer, over 40 degrees centigrade, and they're dressed like this. Now, what I wanted to point out was the brickwork in this. They say they built this house in 1888. I'll see if we can zoom in, and let's have a look at this brickwork. Okay, see here, big brick, small brick, big brick, small brick, and you can see that they're lined up on top of each other. That's pretty good, masonry skills, for convicts and whoever was building this. You can see it goes the whole way around here. It's all the same. And here, and then on this corner, we get these smaller bricks. See this line of them? And you can see just on the inside, there's another line of them down here. Now they're different to these smaller bricks. And actually this whole wall looks a bit different. So we've got long ones, we've got sort of shorter ones with this really short one, then they're smaller, then long ones again, the short ones, small ones, long ones. What is this? And we see a lot of this brickwork and shapes in brickwork. Is it just for looks? Or is this something to do with, I don't know, current or something, or who knows? But the question remains is who built this place? They're trying to tell us it was built out, in Pinjarra back, it's still a country town. Back then it would have been, I don't know, a day from Perth probably on horse and cart. And then they've got to get all the bricks there, they've got to make them, they've got to lay them, and that's without all the wood and all the rest of the construction. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. This guy here is not real happy about the situation. Being made to sit down for this photo. Here's another shot. Here's the house in the background again with the kids. Not really any trees around, as we saw in this. There's one or two trees, but pretty flat. This is the Masonic Hall. Built in 1903, the Masonic Hall had 18 members. For 18 people, they built this out in the middle of literally nowhere. I think I've got a bigger picture of that as well. And of course, we have the pub. This is called the Exchange Hotel. No, sorry, the Premier Hotel. And every Australian town has these. No matter how remote they are, they all have these buildings. And as you can see, red brick. Yeah, so red brick. I can't zoom in on that one. Sorry. You can see red brick. They've re-roofed it. They've put this veranda thing on the front made out of wood. This is just wood. This is all brick. And of course, behind this, we've got the top of the facade that was there, the facade. All symmetrical, and they've just, put the drive-through bottle out the front and, changed the whole look of it. This is it again. And, this top bit, we've seen this everywhere. And again, this, you'll see this all through Australia where they add these verandas onto them to change the look of the building, to make everything look like it's Australian made. And this is a site I found. It's just like a photo site where you can buy old photos. It's called ninskaphotos.com. And there's all these interesting old photos here. Look at this one, Cuba. Opera House in Saigon. So I thought I would come up here and click Australasia. And what we get is all of these clearly set up photos. I mean, look at this. They've just got this lady to sit out in the desert and take a photo. This guy they've put up. This looks like a completely made set. So I've had all these pop-ups. But can you see these wooden posts? Now this has clearly been made. This is not their traditional housing, by the way. Look at this. This one's got tin in it, and it's just like a little humpy. And we get this, these, wrought iron buildings and humpies trying to tell us this is how they live. But clearly this is all remnants of something else. The bits of wood and iron and stuff that they're using. And we come down and, they're giving us this big sort of narrative of just these people that were just, I don't know, walking around in the desert or something. And then we hit this. So this is pretty much, they're trying to say this was, going on, and this was the only people here, and this was their level of technology. And then clearly we have things like this. This is Sydney. What was it? Oh, sorry, the post office. I mean, look at the size. Holy crap, look at the size of that. And they're calling that a post office. And I mean, you can see the cars down here. What are we talking, 1930s maybe? That's a horse and cart. So it's definitely early. And, not too many people really for the size of all these buildings. Like, they're everywhere. Look at the buildings everywhere. And here's another one, George Street in Sydney. And look how completely built out it is. These buildings are side to side. Now, with these buildings that are all side to side, you cannot, they have to be built at the same time. You cannot build like this building here and then leave this gap and then build this building and then come along later and build this in. And, because you've got to dig down and build foundations and things. So this is all part of one kind of construction at the same time. Unless, of course, everything was a lot lower and the foundations aren't as deep or something. But even then, I mean, really, they need to be built at the same time. This whole, narrative of they just sort of popped up as they were needed and everything, when you look at how they're constructed, it doesn't make sense. Then we have You know, this contrast again, just, you know, this Sydney Harbour, there was nothing there. It's just this wilderness. But then we get Tasmania. Look at this. Electric trams, completely built out with Tartarian old world buildings. And you can see here again, they've added the little veranda bits on the front to change the look. If that was a pub, it'd be a 2-story veranda. And that would change the look again. And of course, everyone's wearing the same clothes. 1920s. Liverpool Street in Tasmania, Hobart, Tasmania. This is a sugarcane trains. That's up in Queensland, again out in, you know, basically the middle of nowhere. But they had train tracks up there apparently. And a few more photos there for you. This here is Perth Parliament House, 1920s. And as we can see in this photo, Parliament House, oops, won't let me go in. Parliament House, can you see here, it used to have all this wrought ironwork around the top. That's all gone. But see, it looks like it's got this wrought ironwork. I think that's what it is. I have to have another look at another picture. It might, actually, what is it? Maybe it's not. But you can see in this photo too, 1920s, they said this was built 1902, so 18 years earlier. See this tree here, this is bigger than the building. That's a 2-story building there, and the roof, it's taller. This is a Canary Island date palm, and that is quite a big one. They take, a long time, decades to get that big. And trees, yeah, so what were they doing? Building around the trees, and of course there's no construction photos of Parliament House either. Now here we go, this is Sydney, Australia. And you just see this stuff everywhere. Here's another one, Sydney, Australia. Oh my God. Look at this. Look at that. And look at these hooks. What is going on here? I mean, come on. What is that? Is that some kind of a fountainy type thing? It's not even a building. It's just like a, don't know. And then just complete Tartarian build out everywhere. People just hobbling down the street, which is completely covered in mud. This is Sydney. Who are they welcoming? Oh God, look at that dome. And these domes. Sorry, we started off in Perth, but I think we need to have a look at these photos. This is the other side. That's that dome again. But look at this building. 1925. I don't know what the building's called. American Troops. I don't know. These guys just all look the same. Like they're just all in suits and stuff. Mud roads, but look at this architecture in this building. Oh my golly gosh. So I'll leave the link for this website below. Because like I said, it's actually got heaps of photos. This is just Australasia. Here's some baths. Melbourne, Sydney Harbour. Oh, is that the old castle? So there was a castle on Sydney Harbour as well. It's actually a star fort. Oh God. Again, this is Town Hall in Sydney. Oh my golly gosh, look at that. Sydney, Australia, 1920s. So this is Sydney was founded earlier than Perth, but we're still talking. I mean, Australia, you know, they say that Cook turned up 1788, first fleet. So, you know, early 1800s, you know, is the earliest point. So we're talking Sydney 1810, maybe 1820. Less than 100 years later, they have this constructed, and then no doubt this is gone. Less than 100 years, guys. Which one of these people look like they have the skills to even think of attempting something like this? And see all the ironwork up here? And of course, they've hung a flag on the pole, still got the ball up there. A few more flag poles. They look American. That must be because the troops are in town. To give it a bit of charge, maybe. That's incredible. Can you see? And all this work along here, it's all ironwork. Like I said, I'll leave the link to this site because it's not bad. And like I said, if you come to the top here, it's got, you know, China, Japan, Korea. And look at this. This is Shanghai, 1925. Oh my God, look at all these domes. And just the same story, guys. Complete build out the whole way down. Look at this. Is that on a cart? Or is that one of those, what are they called? We don't have them in Australia, but those booths. Look like Tartarian Doctor Who booths. Wow. Okay, I'll leave the link for this below. And yeah, I may revisit this site because this is pretty cool. And I thought we'd finish off with a couple of pictures. Now I'm going to have to make part 2 and probably 3 of this because I've got a lot of stuff on Fremantle I want to show you as well. And I didn't actually get to some of the stuff I wanted to show you today because of that site. But this is Barrack Street in Perth. And this is Barrack Street, well, Perth Barracks. Now what they did is they knocked all this down and all we have now is just this gateway. That's all they left. And this, as you can see, big multi-story Tartarian building looking very much like the citadel of a star fort. Here it is again. Bit of a better view so you can see how big it is, and you can see the shape as well. I think this one was a 6-sider, and we've got the old world power poles out here, and you know, just the brickwork, you know, just, you know, looks like a castle. Here's an actual photo. This is from the 70s. Now, like I said, that they ended up, you can see it looks like they've already knocked half of the back of it off, and then later they come along and they knock all this down to build a freeway through. And this is Parliament House in the background, and you can see that's all been completely refaced so it doesn't look Tartarian. Whoops. Here again from the 70s before they bolted over. And you can see a huge building and it's not level. So it looks like might be a mud floodder. I've got all these chimneys. And this is, like I said, they tell us it's for, you know, war, for the barracks. I found this. This is an electric tram from Perth. This one is from Perth City. This is St. George's Terrace, I believe. Yeah, 1900s, early 1900s in Perth, electric trams. And we actually did have them for a while. This, here you go, this is what they left, this archway, and they knocked the rest down to put a freeway through in the early 80s. And Parliament House is up here. And as you can see, just the old world buildings and stuff down this way. This is is it Pinjarra? I think it's Pinjarra. And they had electric trams as well. As you can see, this is back, late 1800s, early 1900s. Heaps of kids, lots of kids. Interesting, all dressed the same. Being given their new town and their new identities. And a tram to play on. Again, this is an older shot of the barracks. Please see here, not level at all. And another old world building here. This was gone a long time ago. But this is, Perth back in the day. And as you can see, it looks like it was used as a farm or something. Got these old, and this is the thing, look at these old rickety wooden fences they put around. But then they claim to have built this. Oh yeah, no, we built this, but we just ran out of materials and workers, so we just grabbed some wood we found laying around to build the fence. Because that's how we do things around here. And again, look at this window, it's right on the ground. This one, about a metre off the ground. There's another one. And here's the army in a nice pose. Just so that we know it's a military building, right? And look, there's just nothing around it at this point. There's not even trees. This just looks like mud. You can even see there's, I don't know, don't think they're tram tracks. They could be, but it's, tracks of something that's, obviously imprinted in the ground from driving cars, or it could be train tracks, who knows. But yeah, that's Perth back in the day. That's what they found when they founded Perth. This is back in the day. See this guy, he's bringing his cattle down the road on his horse. And in the background, this is the barracks. And so this is St. George's Terrace. And you can't see, but we've got trees nicely, planted, lining the streets, and just wall-to-wall buildings behind that, 2-3-story buildings. Literally this would be, 70 years max after they found Perth, after they literally just turned up with nothing. And another one, oh my gosh, it looked a bit different back in the day, didn't it? And that's the top of, so what are we looking at there? What is that? Okay, so what's going on here? Because see this, this is the barracks by the looks of it, the front of it. And we've got trees and things are built up, and it's not flat. We've got this is coming down this way. That looks nice and flat. I'm just wondering. And we've got this looks, so this is going uphill here. That comes down, but then it's going uphill. That road there might be going up. So just trying to work out the perspective. They could be sort of on it. There might be a little hill, and all the road, that may be the road, and the houses down here, because there's no way that they built out all those houses down here. In the time between this is clearly horses on the road. This is clearly, around 1900 or before. And this looks about the same time. Maybe a bit earlier, horses and buggies, but 20 or 30 years maybe. That's not enough time back then to see all these houses. So it's almost like, I'm just wondering if that's the back end of it, if it had two of these gates and was a proper, like it looks like a proper pentagon. What do you reckon? Because we've got the streets clearly coming down this way and all built out. But here, different. So is that the back side of it, or is this a hill and we've got stuff here? And look at all the trees in the background there. There shouldn't be a hill there. Okay, if this is Perth, if that's the front and that's St George's Terrace, then now the freeway's behind it going off this way. That should not be a hill. So what is the perspective here? That's got to be Kings Park. If that's a hill, which means they could be kind of looking up that direction, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Perth peeps? I'm just trying to work out where the perspective of all this. You see, this one does look like it's going downhill. Just looks like I think that this was when they found it. I think it was a full pentagon, a full star fort citadel. And some of these photos are from the one side and some are from the other side, is what it's looking like, because there's not a lot of consistency in them. Okay, now this is a picture from the inside of the barracks. So you can see, it looks like this is old world building. Looks actually a bit flooded down. This is all been built on this veranda. We've got the chimneys here we can see on the outside. But see, this looks a lot bigger than some of those photos that just show that it's just sort of the front. And where's the gate? The gate, there's the river. So the gate should be, that must be it there. It is that is. See the top of it? Okay, so this almost goes the whole way around. So there's something going on here. I think that was a full building. And here's an old shot. This is very small, old of Perth. This isn't the barracks, but it's hard to see. But it's just to show you, again, this is just a bit of the countryside, but there's just brick buildings. These are all brick. This is a big 2-story place, 3 stories. Built within 50 years of people just turning up. St George's Terrace in Perth. What have we got down here? Don't have a date, but here we go. Electric trams in Perth. Again, everyone dressed exactly the same. They're not allowed cars yet. So this guy's, he's qualified for his bicycle license. Everyone else needs to be on the tram. Big domes here. And looking very much like High Street in Fremantle. And these buildings, they're just all through Perth, all through Fremantle. This is St George's Terrace. Sorry, this is Hay Street. Most of these have been knocked over and replaced with big, ugly, termite mound-looking buildings. But yeah, back in the day, what are they all looking at? Is this just, oh my God, see, they're all staring this way. Is it at the tram? Well, these guys seem to be looking at it. So why haven't they seen a tram before? They're all grown people. Who supposedly built all this stuff, but they don't know what a tram. They're like, whoa, a tram. What's going on? And just a few more pics to finish with. This is Parliament House again, and as you can see, it's not level. And that's a big building. And to build big buildings like this, you need to level the ground. You don't build them on angles like that. I mean, I don't know even if you could. If it was possible, you would be making your life extremely hard for yourself. No date on this. I think this said it was around 1920. And the trees that we saw in that other photo earlier have now gone. This is a map of Perth. Improvements to the Swan River navigation. Okay, they're obviously talking water navigation, I think. And this is 1830 to 1840. Now, Perth, the Swan River Colony, was founded in 1830. Now, can you see the amount of streets here? There's a causeway with a bridge. There's another bridge here and here. Now, really? I mean, this is completely built out. This is literally the time they're saying that, well, the time they found it. And if we look up here, we have here Causeway Electric Tram. Can you see that? This is the causeway. We've got a bridge there today, and that says Causeway Electric Tram. And down here we have, this is Queen's Park now, I think. Public Rec Reserve. Oh no, there, Queen's Gardens, sorry. Queen's Gardens, Cricket Association. This is all about 1839, is that what it says? A bit of nice angles and curves here. And if we get back out, let's just have a look. It looks pretty squared off, but it looks, I'm going to have to look more now at the layout of Perth, I think. I might do that in the next video just to see, because that, Perth Barracks looks very much like the citadel of the Star Fort now that I've started looking at it. This is where we met last Saturday. And this is on the top of Kings Park. And this is an obelisk that's been, faced off with something. This is there's actually a sword, a metal sword inside that cross. And it's obviously, like everything else, it's now turned into a war memorial. But Kings Park is a massive hill, so I need to look into this as well, overlooking Perth. And there's just bits like this sticking out of the ground everywhere, like these shorter sort of obelisk things. And a lot of the stuff that they say is newer than this is actually falling apart. And you can see the facade falling off it. The face they've added. Parliament House again, trees are gone suddenly. This one we can see in the background bits of the barracks. Now I was wondering if this was actually inside the barracks, but it looks like, that might even be the back end of it. That almost looks like it's connected, doesn't it? I wonder if that's what was going on. Need to find some older photos. And over here we've just got sand and some, scrub, some beach scrub. And looking in the background, now this doesn't give us a date, but it's pretty early, and you can see this whole place is completely built out. Now this is said to be a design for the Parliament House, Perth, Western Australia. Can't read that, sorry, what does it say? Well, basically what it said in the article is this was one of the original designs that they were considering for Parliament House in Perth. Really, look at that. Now I don't know what this photo is. Is this a building that was in Perth? Is this Parliament House maybe without the domes? Maybe they knocked these end bits off. And they were just drawing what was underneath. I don't know, but look, look at this angle down here, and look at this window. Now, who designs buildings with windows down here in the ground? See that? And of course, it's directly underneath these other arched windows. But yeah, that's how you design buildings, right? Yeah, with the top of a window poking out of the ground. Steps going up, portals, arches, pillars, porticos, the whole lot. Antiquitech, domes. This was a serious building. So where was this? Because this is clearly a drawing. This is clearly not a plan, as I just pointed out. So is that a picture of something that they found in Perth, and it was just still running, or too big, or something they just could not, I don't know. They knocked it down for some reason. Because where does this picture come from? So this is the Parliament House now. So we've got these two porticos and arches in the middle. See, I don't know. Portico there. There's definitely no domes left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't really count. I think I did count them when we were out the front. There's actually 9 across the front here. And maybe they knocked this front bit off. I don't know. What do you think's going on there? Is that the same building? Don't know. Questions. Here it is. That's not it. This is the Perth train station. 1900 to 1911, so early 1900s. Clearly, horse and buggy, dirt roads, and this massive Tartarian building. As you do, built. Look at the size of this train. So the population would have been very minimal. And of course, they would have had to lay all the train tracks and everything, build all the trains, all the infrastructure before they even really thought about anything like this. Because you need the train, you just need the tracks and a train of people getting on, from the side of the road before you think about it, a train station. And look at the size of this thing. It's just a complete joke that was built by the people here. That was found and cleaned up. And that's what what they called the Perth Public Works. This is what they were doing. They were cleaning and restoring these buildings. They weren't building them. And this is that church. Sorry, it wasn't a church, was it? It was a Masonic hall built for 18 people. And of course, with so many of these now, they're just blocked off. They might be refurbing it. But, look how thick these walls are. We see these windows everywhere. Look at this, the three, whatever that is, that shape, three-leaf clover sort of shape. Brickwork, the same stuff we see everywhere, arches, columns. And that's literally out in the middle of, nowhere, what we call the bush in Australia. So just out in the middle of nowhere. Whoops. All right, and here's another one of Parliament House. An old one, because we've got horse and cart here. So again, we've got the two porticos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they squared off bits. So I don't know what that picture was. But that was definitely put down as Parliament, Perth, Western Australia. It was a proposal. But clearly this is a drawing. So what is this building? Questions. All right, I've been babbling for a bit longer than I thought I would, guys. So, yeah, some interesting pics there. I hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for spending some time with me. And like I said, I will do some more digging. I've got a lot of stuff on Perth and Fremantle. And also, there's just stuff all over this state. And they're just all little tiny remote country towns. And as you saw, out in Jarrahdale, they had trams and things, and these are for tiny, we're talking populations of under 1,000, like tiny. And yet they have all these Tartarian buildings and infrastructure. So what's really going on here in Australia was found in 1788 or so, they say. But then, of course, we know that after that there was a lot of wars, a lot of massacres, the Eureka Stockade, Ned Kelly standing up to the police. It was the same story. They came in with their dictatorship, took over and killed anyone who opposed them, basically, and then changed the whole story into his story. All right, guys, thanks for spending some time with me. Again, thank you all for your support. Please like, share, subscribe, and thanks to everyone who is supporting me through PayPal, Patreon, and my merch store. It is definitely appreciated and always helps. And I'll leave the link below as well for my new channel on brand YouTube, which is completely uncensored, and they're even going to pay their creators some advertising revenue. So yeah, if you can spread the word, let's get everyone to move out of censorship tube and into brand YouTube. Okay guys, have an awesome day. Thanks for spending time with me, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.